The city never truly slept. Outside Dean's window, the many lights of Manila blurred together, painting the damp night sky with a soft, hazy glow. The air felt thick and heavy, carrying the distant sounds of the city's busy life. Inside his quiet apartment, far from the city's blurry glow, Dean sat. He was alone, his eyes fixed on a bright screen that lit up his face. The room was dark around him, except for the glow of the computer. On the screen, new messages and files kept popping up. Each one brought more bad news, a new problem that made Dean feel a growing worry. He scrolled through them quickly, his brow furrowed in thought. The reports spoke of terrible things: babies gone missing from their beds, empty cradles left behind. People talked of hearing soft, sad cries in the darkness, cries that then led to others vanishing too. The words on the screen painted a scary picture. A cold feeling, not from the temperature of the room, slowly spread through Dean. It was a chill that went deep, a sense of fear and sadness for what was happening. He shivered slightly, even though the night was warm. Dean knew in his gut that these were not just regular disappearances. This wasn't some normal crime. The way the reports sounded, the specific details, pointed to something far more unnatural and dangerous. He had seen this pattern before, heard stories like this from old books and whispers. A cold dread, like a knot, began to tighten in his stomach. He recognized the signs of a specific kind of evil. Every report described the cries in the same exact way. They were always soft, very quiet, and so heartbreaking, making anyone who heard them want to help. It was a sound designed to trick and trap. And the people who went to check on those sad cries often went missing themselves, never seen again. It was a dangerous trap, a lure for the kind-hearted and the curious, leading them right into harm's way. Dean knew for sure what this meant. There was no doubt in his mind now. A Tiyanak, a dark and tricky monster, was hunting in the city. Its evil had found a new place to spread fear and pain. He quickly pushed his chair away from the desk, the computer screen's glow fading from his face. His normal life as a programmer, the one he showed to the world, began to slip away. It was time to put that aside. The quiet stillness of his apartment shifted. The hunter's night was now truly beginning. Dean felt the change deep inside him, moving from a normal person to the protector he was meant to be. He reached for his dark jacket, pulling it on. As it settled on his shoulders, he felt the familiar, comforting weight of his Aggie mat, his special magical items hidden beneath the fabric. They were always with him. His magical tattoos, hidden beneath his skin, felt a faint, warm tingle. It was a sign that they were ready, buzzing with stored energy, waiting for his command. They were eager for the hunt. The Buntat Pagi bracelet, a powerful Aggie mat, felt cool and smooth against his wrist. It was always there, a part of him, ready to change shape and become a weapon at a moment's notice. It was a true companion. He grabbed a small bag, carefully packing a few potions and other special tools he might need. Each item was important, prepared for the dangers ahead. He made sure everything was in its place. Just then, his phone buzzed with a short vibration. It was a new message from the Witching Hour secret network. This was the group of hunters he belonged to, the ones who fought against hidden dangers. It was a mission update, a quick message that confirmed everything Dean already suspected. The Witching Hour knew about the Tiyanak too. He wasn't alone in this fight, even if he worked mostly by himself. The message was clear. The target was indeed a Tiyanak, and its hunting ground was a part of Manila filled with old, broken-down buildings, a place often left alone and forgotten. It was the perfect spot for a monster. Dean walked out of his apartment and into the city night. The air was thick and heavy, full of the smells of street food and car fumes, mixed with a hint of dampness. The world outside was a different kind of challenge. Out in the city, old buildings stood tall but broken. They looked like giant, jagged teeth against the bright, full moon. This part of Manila was old and forgotten, a perfect hiding place for strange things. The streets here were mostly empty. Only long dark shadows danced and stretched in the dim light cast by broken street lamps. It felt quiet and lonely, a stark difference from the busy city Dean had left behind. Dean moved through this broken-down place with hardly a sound. He walked so quietly, like a ghost, blending in with the shadows and the decay around him. Every step was careful, every movement smooth and silent. He wasn't just listening with his ears. His special hunter senses were wide open, picking up things normal people couldn't. He felt tiny changes in the air, a faint shimmer of magic, signals that told him where to go. The air was heavy with a mix of smells. There was the smell of decay, like old, wet wood and rotting leaves. Then there was the damp smell of earth, and under it all, something sickly sweet and wrong. It made his nose wrinkle. He finally reached a large block of old apartment complexes. They were tall and dark, standing close together like tired giants. This was the place the reports had mentioned, the Tiyanak's hunting ground. Many of the windows on the buildings were broken, jagged holes that stared out like vacant eyes. They gave the buildings a spooky, empty look, as if something bad had happened inside long ago. Then, from deep inside one of the buildings, a faint, mournful cry echoed. It was soft and sad, carrying just enough to reach Dean where he stood. It was the sound he had been waiting for and dreading. The cry sounded exactly like a real baby, small and helpless. It was so convincing, so full of sorrow, that it would make anyone want to rush in and help. But Dean knew better, much better. His hunter instincts screamed a warning inside his head. This sound, so innocent, was a trick. It was a trap laid by the Tiyanak, designed to pull unsuspecting victims closer. He would not fall for it. He found a rusty metal door, its paint peeling off. With a slow, steady push, he forced it open. The door let out a long, loud creaking sound that cut through the silence of the night, announcing his arrival. The darkness inside the building was very thick, like a heavy blanket. It seemed to swallow all the light from the outside, making it impossible to see. Dean stepped into the deep gloom, ready for anything. As he moved further in, the crying sound grew a little louder, a bit closer. It was trying to lead him deeper into the building's maze, like hallways. The Tiyanak wanted him to follow, right into its trap. Dean's mind raced quickly. He remembered everything he knew about the Tiyanak's tricky ways. He called to mind its usual habits, how it hunted, and how it liked to play with its victims. They would lure people with false cries that sounded just like a baby. Then when a kind person came close to help, the Tiyanak would attack, changing from a helpless infant into a scary monster in a flash. To help him see, Dean focused his energy. A faint soft glow appeared from one of the magical tattoos on his palm. It was his unique Aggie mat, a light that only he could make and control. The small light from his hand shone into the darkness, making long dancing shadows on the dusty walls. The shadows twisted and moved, making the abandoned hallway seem even more eerie and alive. He moved very slowly and carefully, each step measured. He had to step over piles of broken wood and sharp glass shards that littered the floor. The building was a dangerous mess, even without the monster. As he got deeper, the air suddenly grew colder in one small spot. It was a strange pocket of chill, a cold that didn't belong in the warm night. This was another sure sign that Tiyanak was very near. The baby's cries now sounded more urgent, more desperate. They pulled at Dean's heart, trying to make him feel sorry and rush in. Even though he knew it was fake, the sound still tugged at his emotions. Even with the strong pull of the fake cries, Dean fought hard against the urge to rush ahead. His training told him to be careful, not to let his feelings trick him. He needed to be smart, not fast. His heart pounded loudly in his chest, a fast, steady drumbeat in the strange, quiet building. Every beat seemed to echo in the eerie silence, making the moment feel even more tense and important. He finally stepped into a room. It was almost empty, with nothing but dust and shadows. In one corner, though, stood a broken crib, small and sad, a haunting reminder of the Tiyanak's cruel tricks. Just as he looked at the crib, the crying stopped. It was a sudden, abrupt silence that felt even louder than the cries had been. The quiet stretched, making the hair on Dean's arms stand up. A tiny, quick movement in the very edge of the room caught Dean's eye. It was just a flicker, a shadow that seemed to move where no shadow should be. He tensed, his eyes quickly trying to find the source. He spun around instantly, not wasting a second. As he turned, his Buntat Pagi bracelet quickly transformed. It changed from a simple bracelet into a short, sharp dagger ready in his hand. But when he looked, there was nothing there. The corner was empty. The flicker of movement was gone. Dean's eyes searched the darkness, trying to understand what he had seen, or if it was just his mind playing tricks. Then a tiny, strange, gurgling laugh came from right behind him. It wasn't a baby's laugh, but something cold and evil. It was a sound that made his skin crawl, a sound of cruel amusement. Dean whipped around again, much faster this time. His dagger was up, ready to strike. He wouldn't let the Tiyanak trick him twice, not with that terrible sound still ringing in his ears. There on the dusty, grimy floor was a creature. It was small and looked withered, like something old and dried up. It moved oddly, not like a human or a baby at all. It truly looked like a shriveled baby, but its eyes were not innocent. They glowed with a mean, hateful light, showing how much evil was inside it. This was the real Tiyanak, finally showing itself. There was no doubt now. This withered, cruel-eyed being was the Tiyanak he had come to hunt. It was smaller than he expected, but the evil radiating from it was huge and clear. The creature opened its mouth wide. It showed tiny, needle-sharp teeth, far too many for its small mouth. It was no longer pretending to be a helpless baby. It was a monster, ready to attack. With surprising speed, the Tiyanak scampered across the dusty floor. It moved like a quick, creepy insect rather than a child darting in and out of the dim light. For its tiny size, the Tiyanak was shockingly fast. It darted and weaved, making it hard to follow with the eye. Dean realized this would not be an easy fight, despite its small body. Dean lunged forward with his dagger, aiming to strike. But the Tiyanak was too quick. It slipped away, vanishing under a pile of broken wood and metal debris before he could even touch it. From deep within the shadows of the debris, its unsettling gurgles echoed. It sounded like it was laughing at him, enjoying the chase. The sound bounced off the walls, making it hard to tell where it was. Dean closed his eyes for a moment, letting his hunter senses take over. He could feel its malicious intent, like a cold wave in the air. He could also sense its hunger, a dark, pulsing need for life. Then he heard another cry. This time, it came from a completely different direction, much further away. The Tiyanak was trying to make him think there was more than one of them, or that it had moved far away. The Tiyanak was playing games, trying its best to confuse Dean. It was trying to trick his ears and his mind, hoping he would get lost or make a mistake. But Dean was ready for its cunning ways. Dean decided to stop relying on his ears alone. He closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. Instead, he focused on his other special hunter senses, the ones that felt more than heard. He could feel tiny shivers in the air like whispers of movement. More importantly, he sensed a faint, strange change in the air itself, a subtle shift in the magical energy that the Tiyanak carried. This was the real trail. With his eyes closed, he didn't see with his normal sight, but he could almost sense the Tiyanak's dark, bad energy. It was like a shadowy cloud that he could feel, even through the thick, old walls of the building. Guided by this dark feeling, Dean slowly moved. He headed towards a crumbling stairwell, a dark, broken path leading deeper into the building. The Tiyanak wanted him to go down, to follow it into the darkness below. Dean understood its plan perfectly. The Tiyanak wanted to pull him into a small, dark, and tight space where it could easily jump out and trap him. It was a common trick for such monsters. Instead of rushing in, Dean decided to change how he was moving. He would be smarter. He began to move even more silently, waiting, taking his time, making sure he was the one in control, not the monster. He let the Tiyanak believe its tricks were working. He wanted it to think it was leading him around, that it was in charge. This way, the creature would feel safe and sure of itself, making it easier to catch. Just when Dean thought he had it fooled, something small and fast dropped from above. Suddenly, the Tiyanak launched itself down from the dark ceiling, a blur of motion, aiming right at him. The creature was aiming directly for his face, its tiny, sharp claws stretched out. It wanted to scratch him, to hurt him, maybe even to blind him. Dean saw the attack coming, even in the dim light. Dean was fast. In a blink, he reacted. His hand, already holding the transformed Buntat Pagi dagger, shot up. He raised it quickly, ready to block the attack or strike back. As Dean moved, the creature let out a horrible, piercing shriek. It was a high-pitched scream that felt like it vibrated right through his bones, rattling his teeth and making his ears hurt. It was full of anger. This shriek was nothing like the soft baby cries it had used to lure victims. This was a sound of pure evil, a true monster scream. It showed its real, angry nature, without any tricks. Dean swung his dagger in a swift, sharp arc. He didn't just try to hit it. He slashed the air where it would be. The Tiyanak had to quickly dodge out of the way, just barely missing the blade. The Tiyanak scrambled sideways, landing perfectly on the old, dusty wall. It clung there, its small body pressed flat against the rough surface, like a creepy spider watching its prey. Its eyes glowed from the dark. Its small eyes, already glowing, suddenly blazed even brighter. They were filled with burning rage now, angry that Dean had fought back. It was tired of playing games and wanted to hurt him. Without warning, the Tiyanak opened its mouth and spat something. A thick, gooey substance, glowing green and slimy, shot out from its mouth, aimed right at Dean. It was a horrible, foul-smelling attack. Dean was quick on his feet. He took a fast step to the side, moving out of the way just in time. The thick, green goo hit the dusty floor instead of him. and where it landed, it sizzled and smoked, burning the old wood. Dean knew he had to end this. He took a moment, pushing his own magic outwards. As he did, the magical tattoos all over his arm began to glow, shining with a soft, warm light. His power was rising. From one of the glowing tattoos on his arm, something amazing happened. A small, sleek viper shape began to peel away from his skin. It wasn't just a drawing anymore, it was coming alive, forming a real, living viper familiar. The newly formed viper familiar, small but swift, dropped to the dusty floor. It slithered forward silently, low to the ground, moving incredibly fast towards the Tiyanak's hiding spot. It was a loyal hunter. The Tiyanak, still clinging to the wall, was so focused on Dean that it did not see the small viper familiar. The little snake moved so quickly, so quietly, that the monster had no idea it was coming. In a flash, the viper familiar struck. It launched itself from the floor, wrapping its glowing body tightly around the small, angry creature. The Tiyanak was caught, held firm in the magical snake's grip. Caught in the viper's hold, the Tiyanak let out another piercing shriek. It was a sound of pure pain and anger. It thrashed its tiny body wildly, trying to break free, but the familiar held on tight. With the Tiyanak now held still by his familiar, Dean quickly moved in. He stepped closer, his Buntot Pagi dagger held high. He was ready to strike the final blow and end the monster's hunt. But before Dean could strike, the Tiyanak suddenly burst. Its small, thrashing body exploded into a cloud of black smoke, thin and wispy. It was a quick, magical escape, gone in an instant. Just like that, the Tiyanak was gone. The black smoke quickly faded away, leaving nothing behind but dust and the chilling silence. The monster had vanished right before Dean's eyes. Dean let out a frustrated sound, a soft curse under his breath. He looked around the dusty room, his eyes scanning every corner. The Tiyanak had escaped, and he felt a surge of anger and disappointment. Dean knew this trick well. These creatures, the Tiyanak, were truly masters of vanishing. They could disappear in a blink, making it nearly impossible to finish them off in one fight. They were slippery and sneaky. He knew simply fighting them wasn't enough. To truly stop this Tiyanak, he needed to find its secret nesting place, its true lair. That was where its power came from, and where it would be most vulnerable. Meanwhile, far across the busy city, in a bright modern room, Maya Marquez was getting ready. She was setting up her camera, lights, and microphone, preparing for her own kind of fight against the supernatural. Her room was filled with bright, cheerful, colorful lights, making it look inviting and fun. It was the perfect background for her online videos, a stark contrast to the dark places Dean often found himself in. She gently adjusted her hair, making sure every strand was perfect. A wide, confident smile spread across her face as she looked at her reflection. She was ready to be Maya, the vlogger. Then, looking right into the camera, her voice cheerful and bubbly, she chirped, "Hey guys, it's Maya, back with another myth-busting adventure." She waved excitedly to her unseen audience. She held up her phone, showing a small, blurry photo on its screen. It was a picture that some concerned citizen had posted online, claiming it was evidence of something spooky. Maya would explain it. "Today," she announced, her voice clear and bright, "we're talking about the Tiyanak, the baby monster from Philippine folklore." She made air quotes around baby monster to show she didn't believe it was real. She paused for a moment, letting her words sink in. Her eyes looked directly into the camera lens, as if she was talking to each person watching her video, making sure she had their full attention. "You know," she continued, her voice friendly and questioning, "the one that cries like a baby to lure you into danger?" She tilted her head slightly, waiting for a silent answer from her viewers. She then made a dramatic gesture with her hands, pulling them up to her face. She made a funny, spooky face, wide-eyed and mock-scared, making her video more entertaining and fun for her audience. "Spoiler alert. It's not real," she announced with a knowing look. Then, she added with a slight wink, probably, it was her little joke, a hint that maybe, just maybe, some things weren't as simple as they seemed. She then giggled, a bright and happy sound that quickly spread through the room. Her laugh was so cheerful and catching that it could make anyone watching her video smile along with her. Maya looked at her viewers with a curious expression. "So, people report hearing baby cries in weird places, right?" she asked, as if waiting for them to nod along. Her voice was friendly and inviting, making everyone feel like she was talking just to them. She listed some of the strange places where these cries were heard. "Like abandoned lots, old houses, even deep in the woods," she explained. The places sounded spooky, adding to the mystery she was pretending to solve for her viewers. And then, boom, someone goes missing, Maya said, clapping her hands together suddenly to make a sharp sound. She looked wide-eyed at the camera, making her face show just how shocking this disappearance was supposed to be. Super scary, I know, she said, lowering her voice a little, as if sharing a secret with her audience. She made a sympathetic face, like she understood how frightening those stories could be for people. Then Maya's face changed to a knowing smile. But what if I told you there's a simple explanation? She continued, her voice gaining a hint of excitement. She was about to reveal her truth about the mystery. With a quick movement, she pulled up a picture on her screen. It was a complex-looking diagram full of lines and squiggles, making it seem very scientific. This was her proof for her viewers. It's called infrasound, she stated clearly, pointing to the diagram. She said the word carefully, making sure it sounded important and smart. This was the name of her big scientific answer. She explained what infrasound was in easy terms. Sounds too low for us to hear, she said, holding her hand low, but it can make you feel weird. She then wiggled her fingers, showing how it could make people feel strange without knowing why. It can cause feelings of fear, sadness, and even make you hallucinate, Maya explained, looking a little more serious. She described how these unheard sounds could play tricks on a person's mind and body. So those baby cries might just be low-frequency sounds from things like wind or machines, Maya suggested, waving her hand as if to dismiss the scary monster idea. She was giving her audience a simple, everyday answer. To make her point extra clear, she made a big, exaggerated gesture. She put her hands up to her head and widened her eyes, as if her mind had just been blown by this amazing discovery. It was for fun, but it also helped her point seem big. And the missing people? She asked, her voice turning a bit more serious and thoughtful. Unfortunately, there are many reasons for that in the real world. She looked at the camera with a gentle, understanding look, as if admitting a sad truth. It's not always a spooky monster, she stated simply. Her voice was calm and steady, trying to reassure her viewers that the scary stories were just that. Stories? Not real threats lurking in the shadows. We want to believe in magic, right? Maya said, a playful, wistful smile on her face. It's fun. She liked the idea of magic too, but she had a job to do that meant making people believe it wasn't real. But sometimes, she added, her tone becoming a little more thoughtful, reality is stranger and simpler. She meant that real-world problems could be just as confusing, but often had easier answers than magic. So next time you hear a strange cry, Maya advised, pointing a finger at the camera, check your surroundings first. She wanted her viewers to be smart and careful, to look for everyday explanations before jumping to scary conclusions. She gave them easy examples. Maybe it's just the wind, she said, making a whooshing sound. Or a stray cat, she added, miming a meow. Or even a weird pipe noise. She covered all the basic, non-monster possibilities. Don't go running into a dark alley looking for a baby, she warned, her voice suddenly firm and serious. She pointed her finger again, making sure her message was clear. Stay safe, don't be foolish. After her serious warning, Maya winked playfully at the camera. It was her signature move, a little touch that reminded her audience she was still the fun. Friendly vlogger they loved, even when giving serious advice. Stay safe, stay smart, and keep busting those myths, Maya said with a big, bright smile. It was her usual sign-off, a cheerful way to end her video and encourage her viewers to think for themselves. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, Maya said with a big smile, pointing to the spots on the screen where those buttons would be. It was her fun, lively way of asking her viewers to support her channel. With a final flourish, she blew a quick kiss to the camera. Then, her finger went straight for the stop button, ending the recording. The bright vlogger face she wore for her audience softened as the camera turned off. She let out a soft sigh, and the cheerful vlogger persona she had just worn instantly dropped away. Her smile faded, and her shoulders relaxed, showing her real, tired self beneath the bright act. Just then, her phone buzzed softly on her desk. It was a new message, not from a fan, but from the secret Witching Hour network. This was the real work, the one she hid from her viewers. She picked up her phone and read the message. Tiyanak activity confirmed. Manila, District 7. Dean is on site. The words were short and to the point, giving her the full update on the situation. Maya's face became serious in an instant. The playful vlogger was gone, replaced by the sharp, focused hunter. Her true purpose, her duty to the witching hour, was now clear and pressing. She understood that her online videos where she debunked myths were very important. They were a perfect cover, a way to make sure people didn't believe in the real monsters that Dean and other hunters fought. Quickly, Maya began editing the video she had just filmed. She added some upbeat music and sped up parts of it, preparing it to be uploaded. The sooner it was online, the better for their secret mission. Meanwhile, back in the old, broken-down building, Dean was still hunting. He was tracking the Tiyanak using its faint energy trail, a ghostly path of magic that only he could sense. He would not give up. The faint trail led him deeper into the structure, a maze of dark, twisted hallways and crumbling rooms. It was like walking through a broken puzzle, with no clear path, but Dean followed his senses. He finally found a small, hidden crawl space. It was barely visible, just a dark hole tucked away in a corner covered by debris. Most people would never notice it, but Dean's senses pointed him right to it. The air inside the crawl space was thick and heavy, filled with a foul, sickly smell. It was charged with bad magic, the kind that made Dean's skin crawl. This was definitely the monster's hiding spot. Dean pushed through the tight opening, forcing his way inside. He entered a small, cramped chamber barely big enough for him to move. The walls felt close and the air was still and thick. There, nestled among piles of old bones and dirty rags, was the Tiyanak. It looked even more withered and disturbing up close. This was its lair, where it rested and hid its dark trophies. The creature was hunched over something, its small body tensed. A low, guttural snarl came from its throat, a harsh, angry sound that showed its true monster nature. It was clearly unhappy to be found. As Dean entered, the Tiyanak turned its head slowly. Its eyes, those evil, glowing points of light, fixed on him. They shone with malevolent glee, a cruel joy at seeing its new victim trapped in its space. This time it didn't try to trick him with a baby's cry. It didn't pretend to be helpless. Its true form was revealed, its anger clear, and it was ready to fight without any more illusions. With a sudden, quick burst, the Tiyanak lunged. It moved like a whirlwind of sharp claws and tiny, needle-like teeth, launching itself at Dean. It was a direct, full-on attack full of rage, but Dean was ready. He had expected this. His Buntat Pagi dagger was already in his hand, and his body was tensed, prepared to move, to defend, to fight back against the creature's fury. He quickly pushed his own magic outwards. From one of his glowing arm tattoos, a new familiar began to form. It was a fiery, bird-like creature, small but strong, like a tiny Minakawa, peeling off his skin. The fiery bird-like familiar, a small Minakawa, burst fully from Dean's arm. Its tiny wings beat fiercely, making a soft whooshing sound as it flew right at the Tiyanak. It was a guardian, ready to attack. The bird familiar let out a high, piercing shriek. The sound was sharp and loud, cutting through the small chamber. It surprised the Tiyanak, making the monster stop its attack for a second and look at the new threat. While the Tiyanak was distracted, Dean moved. He struck out with his Buntat Pagi. The bracelet on his wrist quickly changed, extending into a long whip-like weapon with a sharp crack as it uncoiled in the air. The whip moved fast and true. Dean swung it, and it wrapped itself tightly around the Tiyanak's small, thin body. The creature was caught, held firm by the magical weapon, unable to move freely. The Tiyanak began to writhe and twist, trying to escape the whip. Its screams, no longer fake baby cries, were loud and full of anger, echoing harshly in the small, cramped chamber around them. Dean pulled the whip tighter, using all his strength. With a grunt, he lifted the small, struggling creature right off the ground. The Tiyanak was now dangling in the air, helpless against his power. Even lifted off the ground, the Tiyanak kept fighting. It thrashed its tiny body, trying to twist and turn. Its sharp little teeth snapped wildly, aiming to bite the whip and break free from Dean's hold. Dean knew he had to finish this. He pushed even more of his own magic into the Buntat Pagi. The whip suddenly glowed very brightly, shining with a strong white light. It was getting stronger, ready for the end. With a powerful swing, Dean slammed the Tiyanak, still held by the glowing whip, against the dusty wall of the chamber. There was a loud thud, and the creature let out a pained squeal. The Tiyanak collapsed to the ground, no longer fighting. It whimpered softly, a weak, defeated sound. Its small, withered body began to flicker, like a bad signal. showing that its life was fading fast. The small Minakawa familiar, its job done, flew back to Dean. It landed gently on his shoulder, its fiery glow slowly fading away until it was just a faint tattoo again. It had helped him win the fight. On the ground, the Tiyanak's body began to break apart. It wasn't bleeding or leaving a messy puddle. Instead, its form slowly dissolved, turning into a pile of dark, fine dust that scattered on the dusty floor. Finally, it was over. The evil that had haunted this part of the city was gone. The Tiyanak's deceptive, heartbreaking cries, which had lured so many to their doom, were now silenced forever. There would be no more victims from this monster. Dean stood still, watching the last of the Tiyanak turn into dust. His face was grim, a serious and sad look. He felt no joy, only the heavy weight of another monster dealt with. Another threat ended. One monster was gone, but Dean couldn't help but wonder. He thought about all the other dark creatures out there, hiding in the human world, waiting to cause trouble. How many more would he have to hunt? Dean felt very tired, a deep drain on his own energy. Using his magic and his familiars took a lot out of him. The glowing tattoos on his arm, which had just been so bright, were now dimming, almost fading back to normal skin. He knew he couldn't keep fighting without power. He'd need to recharge his tattoos soon, using blood or magic, to make them strong again for the next battle. It was a cost of being a hunter. As the last of the Tiyanak turned to dust, Dean noticed something small in the dirt. He reached down and picked it up. It was a tiny silver rattle, old and tarnished, covered in dust from the ruined room. Dean knew what the rattle was. It was a toy, a small relic left behind by one of the Tiyanak's innocent victims. The monster must have taken it from a missing child, keeping it as a dark trophy in its lair. Dean squeezed his hand, crushing the fragile silver rattle. It bent and crumpled in his grip. It was a silent promise, a vow to all the innocent people lost to these monsters. He would keep fighting for them. Dean knew his part was done. The witching hour had special teams, quiet and skilled, that would handle the cleanup. They would come to the old building and make sure no normal person found anything strange. They were experts at hiding all the signs of magic and monster fights. Dean's job was simple. He didn't clean up, he didn't explain things away, and he didn't smooth over problems. His only purpose, his one mission, was to find the monsters that crossed into their world and stop them, no matter the cost. He turned away from the dark chamber where the Tiyanak had met its end. He walked back through the broken, dusty building, stepping over the debris. Soon he was outside again, stepping into the cool night air. The big city still seemed quiet. Most people still sound asleep in their beds. High above the city rooftops, the very edge of the sky was starting to change color. A faint, soft light like a pale gray was slowly appearing. It was the first hint that morning was on its way, gently pushing back the darkness of the night. His phone buzzed once more, a quick vibration in his pocket. He didn't need to look. It was a new message, an automatic confirmation from the Witching Hour network that the Tiyanak was stopped. The mission was marked as a success, official and done. Dean didn't even look at the phone. He kept it in his pocket, the buzzing message forgotten. Instead, his eyes were fixed on the sky, watching the gentle change from dark night to soft dawn. The slow, peaceful sunrise was more important than any message right now. Soon, people would start their day. They would head to work or school, unaware of the hidden battles that had just happened. The whole world would wake up, but they would never know about the monsters that Dean fought in the shadows, keeping them safe. He thought about Maya. Her video, the one telling people that monsters weren't real, was probably already uploading to the internet. Millions of people would see it and believe her, never guessing the truth behind her cheerful words. It was a strange contrast between their two lives. Maya was out there, using her bright, friendly voice to tell everyone not to believe in magical creatures. Meanwhile, Dean was out in the dark, fighting those very creatures, proving with his own hands that they were very real and very dangerous. Their lives were like a strange, lonely dance. She created a world of comfort and disbelief for everyone, while he risked his life to keep that false comfort safe. They were connected by the secret, but lived in completely different realities, always hidden from each other's public view. Dean often wondered about Maya. Did she, deep down, truly believe the words she said in her videos? Or did she know, just like him, that the world was full of dangerous magic, and her videos were just a necessary lie to keep people safe and calm? No, he doubted she truly believed her own words. She was a hunter, just like him, a guardian of the veil. She knew the truth. even if she had to hide it from the world. She played her part to protect humanity, just as he played his, each in their own way. Dean started walking towards his apartment, eager for rest and a hot meal. But even though the Tiyanak was gone, he could still hear a faint, ghostly baby's cry in his mind. It was a phantom sound, a reminder of the evil he had faced and the innocent lives lost. The long, dark night of hunting was finally over for Dean. The Tiyanak was no longer a threat to the city. He had done his part, putting his life on the line to keep people safe from the hidden dangers they never saw, the monsters that lurked beyond the veil. Yet Dean knew this was just one small fight in a much bigger battle. The war against the veil weakening, allowing monsters to spill into their world, was far from over. There would always be another creature, another mission, another night of hunting in the shadows.
Shadows creep where the old truths sleep. City lights blur what secrets stir. From a lagging streets to the city's heart, a row hunter's feet playing a dangerous part. 15 years since the cleansing scar. Now the veil's thin, not far, not far. Monsters crawl beyond the wall. He's hunting them down, gonna make them fall.